Our series begins in a very small orphanage with a girl named Fely, and we see her working inside the orphanage, tidying up, cleaning, and going in to wake up the children who live there. They all treat her like their big sister because she's always so kind to them, and she even cooks their favorite meal, fried rice. Fely hurries through her chores at the orphanage, and once she's done, she changes her clothes and goes to greet the owner and head of the orphanage, a woman named Ada. That's when we learn that Fely isn't just a worker there. She's actually one of the orphans who grew up in that very place. Even though she's now 18, she never found a family to adopt her, nor did she ever reunite with her real family. After that, Fely heads off to her second job, working as a waitress in a restaurant. Since she arrives late, her manager scolds her and reminds her that Johan, a famous lawyer who comes to the restaurant every day, has been waiting for her. Fely goes over to him with a smile because Johan is such a kind man, and he specifically asks for her to take his order. He tells her that he's meeting a witness for a case at the restaurant, and Fely, with her friendly nature, suggests he change his hairstyle since he looks too formal. She even helps him match some colors and jokingly asks if there's no one at home to help him with his look, like maybe his wife. Johan tells her, sadly, that his wife has passed away and that he lives with his 4 sons, so those kinds of things aren't really part of his life anymore. Fely apologizes for prying and goes to get his order, but then she receives a message from the school where she had applied for a scholarship and finds out she's been rejected. She barely has time to feel upset before the children from the orphanage suddenly show up at the restaurant to sing for her, because that very day happens to be her birthday. Everyone in the place joins in to celebrate with her, but after Fely thanks the kids, she gently tells them they shouldn't have done that in her workplace. Before she can even finish, her manager storms in, yelling at her for making such a scene and ordering her to kick the kids out because they've turned the place upside down. Then Johan steps in, wishes Fely a happy birthday, and looks straight at the manager, asking if she's really yelling at someone on her birthday. The manager gets nervous, quickly backtracks, saying she was only joking, and then wishes Fely a happy year. Later that night, Johan drives Fely and the kids back to the orphanage, where he finds out that she's an orphan herself. But the very next day, Fely receives a new message from the school and discovers that her scholarship has actually been accepted, meaning she's about to start a brand new academic year at a very good high school. She feels even happier when she learns that her childhood friend Chloe, who also grew up in the orphanage, is enrolled at the same school. On her very first day there, Fely enters the campus, but right away a car nearly hits her. She angrily yells at the driver, and we find out his name is Raja, who's in the car with his 3 siblings, Joe, Helga, and Neferu. At that moment, a student named Hema, the president of the student council, stops Raja and orders him to move his car to the parking garage, or else he'll have it clamped and let the school deal with him. Raja gets furious, revs his engine as if he's about to run Hema down, then jumps out of the car and threatens him, warning that if he ever talks to him like that again, he won't show mercy. Fely rushes to Hema's side to help, scolds Raja, and tells him not to speak to people that way. Raja snaps back, telling her to stay out of it because clearly she doesn't know who he is. Fely boldly grabs his car keys, tosses them on the ground, and walks away. Afterward, Hema thanks Fely, introduces himself, and becomes her very first friend at the new school. Later, Fely enters her classroom to introduce herself and quickly realizes that both Raja and his brother Joe are in the same class as her. She's also excited to see Chloe there too. But strangely, Chloe keeps her face hidden. When Fely tries to sit next to her, Chloe coldly tells her not to and quickly leaves for the bathroom, pretending she doesn't even know her. So Fely just goes and sits somewhere else without making a fuss, and that's where she meets 2 girls named Shania and Lynn. During lunch break, Fely learns from Shania and Lynn that the 4 guys she clashed with earlier that morning, and the whole school saw it, are known as the 4 princes. They're the richest boys in the school. Raja is the eldest, a famous vlogger obsessed with cars, owning his own garage, and practically every girl in school is crazy about him. Joe is the younger brother, the quietest of them all, famous for his love of singing and music, and everyone knows his voice is incredibly beautiful. The other 2 are twins, Helga and Neferu, though not identical. Helga is the more handsome twin, with long silky hair and a reputation for loving video games, while Neferu is more friendly and warm-hearted, never letting a girl stay upset with him for long, and he seems to be connected to almost everyone. Shania and Lynn warn Fely not to get herself into another fight with them, because those 4 are not easy to deal with, and she would be the one to get hurt. Suddenly, Fely touches her neck and realizes her butterfly-shaped necklace is gone, the only thing she has left from her family. Devastated, she starts searching all over the school for it. When she walks into the cafeteria, Helga comes up to her, grabs the hair clip from her hair, and tosses it to his brothers, who keep throwing it back and forth like a game. Finally, it lands in Chloe's hands. That's when we realize Chloe has feelings for Raja and wants to be his girlfriend. But suddenly, Chloe throws the clip into the air, and Helga kicks it, shattering it to pieces. Chloe then storms off, and Fely chases after her, asking why she's treating her this way when she expected that after all these years apart, she would hug her instead. But Chloe coldly tells Fely that yes, they were friends back in the orphanage, but no one at this school knows that she's an orphan, or that she ever lived in an orphanage at all. She demands Fely pretend not to know her, and never tell anyone about her past, then leaves her standing there heartbroken. Of course, Fely is deeply hurt and goes back to Ida to tell her what Chloe did. Ida insists something must be wrong because the Chloe they know would never act that way. But then she changes the subject and asks Fely to help her in the kitchen, since some important guests are coming and she needs her assistance. After they finish preparing the food and the guests finally arrive, Fely is shocked to see that the guest is none other than Johan. Ada then explains to Fely that Johan has come because he wants to adopt her. Before anything else, Johan tells Fely he wants to introduce her to his 4 sons, who would become her brothers. Fely is stunned when she realizes his sons are the same 4 princes, and the shock is clear on their faces as well when they learn that Fely is the girl their father intends to adopt. Raja, being stubborn, immediately tells his father he was never on board with the whole adoption idea, but if his father wants to adopt Fely, that's a completely different story, and one he absolutely doesn't agree with. He storms out of the room and sits outside the orphanage, but Fely follows him when she notices he's playing with her necklace, the one she lost, and she realizes he found it on the ground. Raja tells her he'll give it back, but only on one condition. She has to go back inside right now and refuse the adoption. Fely does walk back in and refuses, but not because of Raja. Rather, it's because of what she overheard from the other brothers, saying they didn't know her background or where she came from. She runs off to her room, and Johan goes after her, asking to talk privately. He explains that his late wife, the mother of the 4 sons she just met, had always wished for a daughter. Before she passed away, she made him promise that if she couldn't give him a daughter, he should adopt one. Johan tells Fely that he couldn't imagine anyone better than her to be his daughter. He asks her to consider living with him and the boys for just 3 months, and if after that time she feels unhappy, she can leave with no strings attached. Fely agrees to Johan's offer, and the very next day, she says goodbye to the children at the orphanage and to Ada, gathers her belongings, and leaves with Johan, who is waiting for her outside. When Fely arrives at her new home, she's stunned. It isn't just a house, it's a mansion with servants everywhere. She's welcomed by the 4 princes, and especially Joe, who is very kind to her. He even shows her to her room and begins introducing her to the place. The next morning, Fely comes down to Johan, greets him warmly with a good morning, and kisses his hand, treating him as though he's truly her father. Johan is taken aback, because none of his 4 sons had ever shown him that kind of affection before. The 4 princes, however, assume Fely is only doing this to get closer to their father. Later, Johan asks Raja to drive Fely to school, but as soon as they get close, Raja kicks her out of the car, not wanting anyone to know that she's living with them. This makes Fely late, and she has no choice but to climb over the school wall to avoid missing her second day. Back at the mansion, Raja tells the twins to watch what he's about to do to her. He cuts the power to her room, and once the lights go out, Fely panics and screams because she's terrified of the dark. Suddenly, she loses consciousness. The problem is, none of them know the passcode to her door. Fortunately, Joe arrives just in time, opens the door, carries Fely to her bed, and tries to revive her. When the electricity finally comes back and the lights turn on, Fely wakes up and immediately hugs Joe without any warning. That's when he realizes she has a severe phobia of the dark, so intense that she can faint from fear. Since what happened wasn't something small, Joe orders his brothers to apologize to Fely, and though they do it reluctantly, they comply. From that moment, Fely realizes she's living in a house of horrors, thanks to Raja and the twins. But Joe remains the only one who's kind to her, always acting as her shield from the others. One day, Fely is in a rush and accidentally bumps into a boy named Kai, spilling the juice he's holding. She quickly apologizes, but Kai doesn't care. He raises his hand, ready to slap her across the face. Suddenly, Raja and the twins show up. Raja grabs Kai's wrist and tells him that if he's really a man, he should try showing him how he'd hit her. Knowing full well he's no match for the four princes, Kai backs off before the fight even begins. Raja then turns to Fely and scolds her, telling her that they won't always be around to stop people from going after her. She needs to wake up and realize she can't keep making enemies so easily. Dealing with them is more than enough already. Later, Raja and the twins confront Joe, demanding that he stop treating Fely kindly because his kindness is ruining their plan to drive her out of the house. Joe refuses, saying he won't follow their orders and insists on treating her well, as a way of making up for how cruel they've been to her. Raja snaps back, calling Joe naive for not seeing the truth. Fely is just using their father to get close to him, and eventually she'll control all his money and everything else. Fely overhears this and storms in, slapping Raja across the face. She tells him he's disgusting for thinking that way about her. But despite her anger, she starts to feel more and more unwelcome in the house. She leaves the room upset, and Joe follows her, finding her making tea in the kitchen. He gently takes over, prepares the tea for her, and tells her not to take his brother's words to heart, especially Raja's. He advises her to stay in the house, to remain the kind-hearted girl she is, because eventually, one by one, his brothers will change. Thanks to Joe's kindness, Fely starts to realize she's developing feelings for him. Taking his advice to heart, the next day she decides to cook for everyone. She makes fried rice, the same dish that was everyone's favorite back at the orphanage. The twins and Joe love it, saying it's the best fried rice they've ever had. But Raja, of course, refuses to even take a bite. When Johan sits with them at the dinner table and tastes Fely's cooking, his joy in her grows even more. But the next day at school, Raja doesn't care about showing how much he dislikes Fely. He needs her homework to copy, or else he'll get kicked out of class. Fely refuses to give in, and their back and forth ends up being unintentionally hilarious. But when Chloe sees them like that, jealousy burns inside her. She storms out of the classroom. Later, in the bathroom, Chloe confronts Fely, telling her that she's loved Raja for over a year, and their relationship was finally starting to improve. But now with Fely around, everything will be ruined, because she's just an orphan girl, a throwaway, and someone like her could never be good enough for Raja. Fely is crushed hearing this, telling Chloe she can't believe these words are really coming from her. She leaves, heartbroken. One day, Fely finds Nefero in the kitchen cooking. He admits he does it whenever he's bored. She helps him out, making her signature fried rice for him. But that same day, she's shocked to learn it's Johan's birthday. The chefs have prepared a grand feast, and Fely eats happily until her neck starts itching uncontrollably. She realizes the food had fish in it, and she's allergic. She tells everyone not to worry. It's not contagious, but she'll be itchy for a week until it clears. The next day, Raja comes home with medicine for her allergy, only to find Fely asleep on the couch. He sighs, picks her up, and carries her to her room. But as soon as he lays her down, she wakes up, panicked, thinking he came into her room with bad intentions. Raja snaps at her, saying she should stop imagining nonsense, that he only moved her so she could sleep comfortably. Fely retorts that no one asked him to do anything in the first place, and orders him out. Before leaving, Raja tosses the medicine onto her bed, telling her to stop scratching like someone with mange. Later, the twins tease Raja for caring about Fely, carrying her, buying her medicine. Even Raja himself finds he can't stop thinking about her, smiling without realizing it, and questioning if he might actually be falling for her. The following day, Raja offers to drive Fely to school, but she flatly refuses, going to Joe instead and asking him for a ride. Joe is flustered, especially with the twins watching and mocking him. At school, Fely overhears a girl named Dafina arguing with Kai, the same boy who once tried to slap Fely. Dafina begs him to delete some photos from his phone, offering to do anything in return. But Kai cruelly admits he's blackmailing her, saying he'll leak the photos to her family and the whole school. Broken, Dafina tries to throw herself off the school building to end it all. Fely rushes to stop her, and Raja, who had been watching from afar, also intervenes. Together, they manage to save Dafina. But afterward, Dafina pathetically tries to beg Kai for mercy, even attempting to kiss his hand. He only laughs, mocks her, and hits her. Enraged, Raja orders Fely to take Dafina away while he beats Kai himself. However, Dafina faints from the stress and is rushed to the hospital. That night, Fely can't stop thinking about Raja, about the noble way he protected Dafina. But the next day, things turn dark. The principal calls Raja into her office. Inside, he finds Kai, who has filed a complaint. Raja is ready to face punishment for the fight, but to his shock, Kai didn't just report the beating. He also twisted the truth, claiming Raja was the one blackmailing Dafina with the photos. Raja, furious, insists that Fely is a witness to everything, that she knows he was protecting Dafina, not the other way around. Fely gets called into the principal's office, where she testifies that Raja was helping her and Dafina, and that the real criminal is Kai. But Kai pulls out a chat between him and Dafina, where he pretends to comfort her while she writes back saying that Raja wants to expose her and spread her pictures. The principal decides to suspend both Raja and Fely indefinitely until the school can decide what to do. That leaves Fely and Raja with only one option: get Dafina herself to confess the truth about Kai. Fely visits Dafina in the hospital, but when she enters the room, she hears Kai's voice. Quickly, she pulls out her phone to record. She manages to capture Dafina begging him to stop, and Kai saying that he'll delete the pictures only if she testifies against Fely and Raja, so they'll be expelled forever. The next day, Kai is summoned to the principal's office, but when he walks in, he finds Fely and Raja waiting, with the recording that exposes him as the real criminal. As punishment, Kai is suspended, pending a decision from his family. After this small victory, Raja buys Fely a juice and takes her for a ride in his car. Chloe sees them together and burns with jealousy, unable to believe Fely is riding with the four princes. Soon after, the school announces a field trip where students will complete activities to earn grades toward their final marks. At the mansion, Fely finds Helga packing for the trip, but in the messiest way possible, throwing clothes into his bag randomly. She teases him, showing him how to fold properly. He pretends not to care and goes back to his computer, but when he notices she's upset, he returns to help and thanks her for teaching him. On the bus to the trip, Raja spots Hema sitting next to Fely. Jealousy flares, and he forces Hema to move, taking the seat beside her. Fely demands to know why, and Raja casually says she causes too much trouble, so he has to stick close to prevent her from making a mess that will drag him and his brothers into it. At the campsite, the boys and girls are separated, but Raja keeps following Fely around. At one point, he even makes her feed him while he checks his blog, since he's a famous influencer and too busy replying to fans. Everyone laughs at the sight, while Fely frowns and finally storms off to sit with Joe instead. Fely shares her cabin with Shania and Lynn, who immediately tease her, asking if she's in love with Joe or if Raja is in love with her. Fely denies both, saying firmly she doesn't love Joe and she'll never love Raja. She ends the conversation quickly. The next day, Raja looks for Fely, but Chloe intercepts him, asking to spend some time together. He pretends not to hear and keeps walking. Embarrassed, she chases after him, demanding why he's been ignoring her ever since Fely showed up in his life. Raja coldly replies that he isn't ignoring her. He just doesn't see her. And if he doesn't see her, that can't count as ignoring. Then he walks away, leaving her crushed. Later, Chloe goes to Fely's cabin and apologizes for everything she had done to her. She admits she was afraid people would find out she was an orphan, which would ruin her life, and she wasn't brave like Fely. Fely forgives her, saying Chloe is more than just a friend. She's like a sister. Chloe quickly changes the subject, asking Fely if she truly likes Joe, since it's obvious from the way she looks at him. Fely admits shyly that she does feel attracted to Joe, but she could never confess because she's afraid of being rejected. Chloe encourages her to be brave and confess her feelings. Chloe tells Fely that it's obvious Raja likes her, too. And since Fely is kind-hearted, she follows her friend's advice and arranges to meet Joe in a romantic spot to confess her feelings. Poor Fely finally admits to Joe that she loves him, but his response cuts her deeply. He apologizes and explains that he doesn't love her in that way. To him, she's more like a sister. Heartbroken, Fely runs off in tears. From a distance, Chloe watches and records the whole thing, her revenge plan unfolding perfectly. Soon after, Raja sees the video of Fely's rejection on the school trip group chat. Almost everyone is watching. Furious, he rushes to find her, only to see her crying alone. He hugs her tightly, telling her to cry as much as she wants. When she's done, she pulls away and retreats to her room. There, Shania and Lynn reveal the truth. Someone recorded her rejection and spread it online. Fely breaks down even further. Thankfully, the next day, Hema manages to delete the video from the group. To cheer her up, Raja rents a scooter and takes her to a quiet lakeside. He tells her that whenever he's upset, he comes to places like this, screaming his lungs out to let it all out. He convinces Fely to shout her frustrations, yelling that she'll find whoever posted her video and teach them a lesson. She screams that she's brave. Little by little, the tension melts away, and she starts laughing. Afterwards, Raja takes her out for juice, asking about her childhood at the orphanage. Fely admits she was abandoned there as a baby by her own family, who never came back. She waited years, hoping they'd return, but they never did. Raja tells her not to be sad, because she's part of their family now. Chloe, still two-faced, tries to comfort Fely and insists they must find out who leaked the video. Meanwhile, Raja confronts Joe directly, asking if he really doesn't love Fely. Joe admits he doesn't, and Raja responds bluntly, Good, because I love her. Joe wishes him luck and tells him to go slow with her, since she's still scarred from what happened. But Fely struggles to even look at Joe afterward. When he tries to help her with her luggage, as he always did, she rejects him coldly. That night, Nefero gently advises Fely to hear Joe out. Maybe there's more behind his words. But things escalate when Fely discovers the video has spread to TikTok too. Distraught, she smashes something in her room. Raja hears the glass shatter and rushes in, finding her crying. He reassures her that she's not alone. He'll stand by her until it's over. He convinces her to call Hema, who uses his hacking skills to track the source. The truth stings. Chloe is the one who leaked the video both on the school group and TikTok. Luckily, Hema helps them wipe the video completely. Later that night, Fely receives a message from Joe, playfully inviting her to his room. Curious, she goes and finds him performing a song for her. In the lyrics, he wishes her happiness, telling her she's strong enough to overcome anything. He apologizes again if he hurt her, but insists he truly loves her as a sister and wants her to remain his closest friend forever. Fely forgives him, admitting he really is her best friend. The next day at school, Hema corners Chloe. He tells her he has evidence she leaked Fely's video and tried to ruin her reputation. If she doesn't go confess to the principal herself, he'll report her, and then things could escalate to the police, maybe even jail. Chloe finally agrees to confess in front of the principal. Following Hema's suggestion, she also records a video apology to Fely, just like she once humiliated her online. The principal approves, and Hema uploads the video. At last, Fely is able to move past the nightmare, though Chloe's reputation at school is ruined. But Chloe doesn't stop. She approaches Ida, the head of the orphanage, pretending to be concerned. Ida innocently reveals details about Fely's past and adoption. Chloe takes this information straight to the prince's mansion, sneaks in, snaps photos of Fely with the 4 brothers, and spreads a vicious rumor online. Fely is Johan's illegitimate daughter. When Raja sees the news, he lashes out at Fely, warning her that if it's true, he won't forgive her. The other brothers, too, start doubting her because Johan's sudden interest in adopting her did always seem suspicious. Heartbroken, Fely tells them she was wrong to ever trust them. The rumor soon reaches Johan, a well-known lawyer. Furious about the stain on his reputation, he calls the brothers. Meanwhile, Fely, devastated, returns to live with Ida at the orphanage. But the story takes a shocking twist. One man shows up at the orphanage, claiming to be Fely's real father. He brings old photos of baby Fely, himself, and her mother. He explains that her mother was gravely ill, and he was too young and incapable to raise Fely alone, so he left her at the orphanage. Her mother passed away not long after. And though he never came back for her, seeing the news gave him the courage to finally step forward and take responsibility. He asks Fely to live with him, but she hesitates, saying she needs time to think. Meanwhile, the princes confront Johan. He scoffs at them for believing the rumor. If she were really my illegitimate child, why would I wait all these years to adopt her? I would have claimed her the moment your mother passed. Realizing their mistake, the brothers feel guilty for doubting Fely. A few days later, after calming down, Fely visits Raja's workshop. She assures him she's not angry at him or his brothers. Then she tells him the truth. Her real father came to claim her, and she has decided to give him a chance. Raja is crushed, but hides his feelings. Together, they return to the mansion so she can pack her things. She bids farewell to the 4 princes and to Johan, who is especially saddened but hides it with dignity. Her father arrives to take her away, overjoyed and eager to start fresh. After she leaves, the princes sit together, and the twins tease Raja after he admits he's in love with Fely. Deep down, his heartbreak is obvious. At her father's villa, Fely is surprised. He's wealthy, living in luxury, and has prepared all her favorite food as though he's known her forever. Yet, something feels off. The next morning, Johan secretly instructs his assistant to investigate the man. It's too strange, he says. Why would he suddenly appear now, after all these years, just because of a news article? He always knew where the orphanage was. Meanwhile, encouraged by his brothers, Raja finally decides to confess his feelings to Fely. But when Fely tries to leave her father's villa, she realizes she isn't free at all. He's assigned 2 strange, thuggish guards to watch her every move. When Raja calls Fely, he asks her to send him the address so he can visit. She sends it, but by then, Fely is already fed up with the strange guards watching her every move. Pretending to sleep in her room, she sneaks out and manages to climb over the villa's back wall. Luckily, Raja is just pulling up his car at that exact moment. He catches her in his arms, rushes her into his car, and drives her far away where they can finally relax. They find a quiet, romantic spot and sit together. Raja decides it's time. He confesses that he loves her, that he's finally certain of his feelings, and he hopes she'll accept them. He promises he'll make her life so much brighter, but he asks her not to answer right away. He'll give her time to think. After a beautiful day, he takes her back to the villa, and they agree to meet again tomorrow. But as Fely enters the house, she overhears a phone call, and what she hears terrifies her. The man isn't her father at all, but her uncle. Even worse, she discovers that he only took her in because he's planning to sell her the next day. He's deeply involved in human trafficking and organ trade and doesn't care that she's his niece. Fely tries to escape, but she can't. Meanwhile, Johan receives the results of his assistant's investigation. Fely's father is actually her criminal uncle, a man who spent years in prison and is still active in the trafficking business. Johan quickly calls Raja and asks if he's with Fely. When Raja says she hasn't shown up yet, Johan warns him not to panic, but tells him the truth. Fely is in terrible danger. Raja hangs up immediately, rushes to the villa, and calls his brothers, who insist he send them the address so they can join. Raja tries to rescue Fely alone, but is knocked unconscious and tied up beside her. Just in time, the three brothers arrive, fight off the guards, and free both Raja and Fely. Together, they escape by car. Fely returns to live with Johan and the four princes once again. One day, while watching the news with the twins, Fely sees her uncle arrested for kidnapping another child he had planned to sell, just like he tried with her. The twins comfort her, reminding her she's safe now and part of their family. Back at school, the princes act like Fely's personal bodyguards, Raja even keeping his hand on her shoulder, something that makes Chloe furious. When Shania trips and spills juice on Raja, she fears his wrath, but surprisingly, he forgives her, only because she's Fely's friend. Chloe then approaches Fely, pretending to apologize and asking to be friends again. Without waiting for Fely's reply, she insists she wants to help her patch things up with Raja. But Shania cuts in, tells Chloe to back off, and takes Fely away. Finally, one quiet night, Fely decides to give Raja her answer. She tells him she loves him too, and the two officially become a couple. Their sweet moment doesn't last long, as Joe and the twins barge in to tease them as usual. Fely seizes the moment to tell all four princes that she asked Johan to stop the adoption process because she still believes her real parents might be alive and hopes they'll return for her. But she makes it clear that this doesn't change anything between them. Before I loved Raja, she says, we already became a family. The brothers hug her tightly. But when they all return home, Fely is shocked to find a woman sitting with Johan, the very same woman her uncle had arranged to sell her to. Fely recognizes her instantly from the night she was tied up. Who is this mysterious woman, and what does she want with Fely? That, dear viewer, is a question for Season 2 of our story. It's not me keeping you waiting, it's them who haven't released it yet. And that wraps up today's recap. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, stay safe. Goodbye.